Good morning. I have to actually I'm very excited to say this. Actually, I have to turn my air conditioning on here. It's warm finally. So happy Tuesday, everybody. And so today's going to be our first part of conducting an effective buyer consultation. I would be naive in saying that this has not been a bigger shift than I think most of us have imagined, right? So who here has gotten comfortable with doing buyer consultations and asking for lots of money? Not I, said the fly. Jeanette says yes, right? So we're going to go through this. And the one thing that I really want you all to focus on is it takes time to become comfortable and confident. And it's not this all or nothing concept, right? I think many of us get stuck in the mindset of I'm behind, I'm behind, I'm behind. I need to do all of it. I need to do all of it. And then guess what we do? None of it. So we've broken this down into multiple sections. I'll give you guys the same update that I gave the listing group yesterday. So our Compass One checklist for the non-escrow, for the escrow states has been fully built out, right? I have Summer Padilla, who's been, is a client, a friend, an amazing partner for us in building all of these things together. She's actually coming here on Thursday for a full day. So we're printing out all of our marketing center materials, our presentations, we're updating them. So that's your progress report on the Compass One integration, right? It's going really well, but I have to tell you, holy Jesus, is this way more than I expected, right? So we've been spending a better part of 2 months on this, right? So here's the part that you should be excited about. Summer had like her own little checklist built out. She was giving it to people. And then her and I decided to collaborate on this project. So she turns around and she goes, yeah, your stuff has so much more than mine, because what you have to realize with Compass One, and what's the best part for our community, especially a big competitive advantage, is the way that Compass One is now, you literally have to duplicate the tasks. Meaning, if it says order pictures and install sign, the client one says order picture, install sign, right? Well, it can't say the same thing because they don't care when you're ordering the pictures. They want to know when you have the pictures and the signs installed, right? So you literally have to duplicate all this stuff. So if you want to talk about like going in the weeds, this is like an entire level of going in the weeds, even far beyond anything I expected. But the end result is one system in one place, right? Like that's it. So my advice to all of you is we're going to start going through this by sections, right? So today we'll go through like the needs analysis section, kind of how we start and set the tone for the consultation. Then we'll go to the Compass Advantage and we go into additional sections. We have cool little workbooks created for you. Like our financial analysis one is mind blowing. So is the lifestyle analysis one. So we have lots of fun materials and things to give to you, but this is the one thing I want to say before starting this. The first thing that anyone says is like, Shrug, this is so much stuff. Nobody's going to want to do this. But then the buyers complain that they pay you all this money for nothing. So like if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it has to be a duck, and the experience needs to fit the bill, right? So if you're not really obsessively learning everything about your client's lifestyle inside and outside of a house, you're not actually helping them understand the costs of like not only their principal interest, taxes, and insurance, but along with like the additional cost of home ownership, the idea of having like cash reserves, reviewing their home inspection to see what they need to budget for. That's the difference between an advisor and a discount broker, right? So we'll give you the framework to follow. Now, the one pushback anyone will ever get, this seems like a lot. Why do I need to do this, right? Has anyone ever heard a buyer say this? Or at least you try to go through a process and everything else. And you're going to say, look, this is the largest financial like investment of your life. Let me ask you a question. How many people work with married people? It's a really easy question. So if they're married, it's like, let me ask you, when you're getting married, right? How much time did you spend on planning that one day? And is it safe to say it would make sense to spend at least a portion of that time, the same amount of time, or maybe even more, knowing that this is your largest financial asset and you plan on living here for how many years? Then you say, okay, that makes sense. That's framing the conversation. You take the frame out of the conversation, nothing makes sense. All right, so let's hop into this. We have a lot to do. All right, conducting an effective buyer's consultation. Here is your roadmap for today. And so let's get started with the conversation. You either need to recap the Med C or ask the Med C. That is how all great conversation starts. How all great conversations start. Sorry. So from there, you want to ask the magic question. Can anyone tell me what the magic question is? Jessica.
Is the magic question is what can you see what we can do differently than what you can do for yourself? Something I need to make it more smoother, but that's the basic.
Anybody else? You're
Yeah.
on the right track. What do you envision an agent doing for you that you feel you can't do on your own? Excuse me. So what do you envision, right? Like, what do you see an agent doing for you that you feel you can't do on your own? Do not change it to what you can't do on your own, because that creates conversation that's combative. Feelings are subjective. There's no right or wrong answer. And then you transition to the needs analysis, right? Just remember, feeling is a new luxury. You want people to feel seen, heard, acknowledged, meet them where they are. But see, there's a thing in sales that you do when this actually happens, right? And we'll get into it. It's called the gap. So before you go into this part, right, you want to have a collection that you did with a previous client. Now, things that they want to highlight are the way that you personalize comments through the collections, right? Like, hey, Mary, this would be an ideal house where you said you wanted a backyard that had no neighbors. I've seen this property on broker tour. There are no neighbors within like a mile, like that kind of stuff. Now, you think about it, the Med C and the magic question, right? The Med C is like starts getting into what they want. The magic question creates the gap, right? So everyone is going to have a different idea of what they want inside and outside of home. Your collections in the comments allows people to show how you listened. And the other thing is it shows all the properties that people did not see, right? Ones that you just hit trash and that they never got to see, because it shows them how you value their time, right? So those are the three areas that you want to highlight in this. So what is a needs analysis? Now, a needs analysis is really understanding this concept, and feel free to steal this in your marketing. A home is where you build memories. A community is where your life happens. We want to help you find your perfect lifestyle in Colorado foothills. That sounds like a neighborhood. CO foothills, right? Or Denver, Colorado, or Lake Geneva, or Denver, or Melno Park, right? And people are like, okay, that sounds really good. So does anyone that's never been here before, or maybe even if you have, what is a buyer's functional flow? Jessica, go ahead.
um Bio's functional flow is basically how they live their life in the sense of what they do from start to finish of the day. If that's like being near Starbucks or needs to go ride their bike or use transportation, or they do the gym in their apartment.
Bingo. So look, there's a thing in sales. You got it.
He did it for my bio, and she replies back to me. She goes, "You mean feng shui?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess that's exactly what."
No, it's not. It's not feng shui.
That's where they kind of like when I explained it to her. She's like, "Oh, I get it." Like she actually liked the idea, but then
It's
she,
the feng shui of your life,
yeah, okay, that's how I replied back. Okay,
right?
yes,
So here's the thing. There are things in sales called pattern interrupts, right? A pattern interrupt is if you're ever in a conversation that you don't want to be in, right? I literally teach this to my kids until they start doing it to me. Because look, like even as like young children or as adults, sometimes you're in just terrible conversations, right? And you're like, how do I get out of this, right? And I could literally look and like in the middle of nothing, be like, oh my God, did you see what the Yankees just did? And like, what the Yankees just did? Like, yeah. And then you ask them a question. Did you see the news? Like, what news? And then the conversation changes, right? It breaks a pattern of expectation. So a lot of us are meeting buyers with their referrals or everything else, and they're just expecting to be sold, right? So like the way that we engineered this, it is an amazing pattern. Now interrupt in the beginning. So I would turn around and I would say to you, hey, Kathy Donovan. I'm not saying Donna. Yep, Donovan. Hey, Kathy Donovan. Has anyone taken the time to understand your functional flow of living in and outside a home, or even share with you why that's important? And they're going to be like, what the hell is a functional flow, right? And that's where you position your unique value statement, right? So you turn around and you say your functional flow is understanding how you both live inside of a house and outside of a house. We want to know what the most important rooms are, the experiences you have, like what's it like in your home for holidays, a typical work week, evenings, and all of those little details, because those are the things that make a house a home for you. And can I share with you the biggest mistake that we see buyers making? And they're going to say, yeah, like what's the biggest mistake? You can say it's really simple. No agents ask about functional flow. Clients, it's not something we really think about. And they end up buying a home where they try to fit their lifestyle into the home versus finding the right home that fits their functional flow and lifestyle. And they're going to say, oh, that really makes sense, right? Because as soon as you do this, based on probably hearing this for the first time, is this 100% different than what most agents do today? Yeah. Bethos is the coolest glasses. So, the thing that I want to highlight to you is how it starts is how it goes, right? And then once you start doing this, they just automatically start talking about their needs, their wants, their desires, their goals. And it's a hyper personalized luxury experience, right? So I remember when we did Compass like free coaching month, right? And Kate did this to me. Kate went through this whole thing. She went through the whole functional flow. And she went to this. I didn't train her on this. She came up with this on her own, right? And she goes, so let me ask you a question. So Shrag, and I use my real scenario, which her and I are really good friends, so she really knows. She's like, on any portal website, is it gonna ever have a description that says no neighbors anywhere around, really, really tall trees with a resort like? I'm like, no. And then she says, oh, and then she went into a few other examples, and she just created this amazing gap, right? So like if you've looked at this up until this point, sales is creating a gap and then filling a gap, right? It's exactly what they desire without even having to say so directly. So think about this. We've identified their med C. We've asked the magic question to understand what they envision an agent doing that they feel they can't do their own. Then you've gone into this whole crazy functional flow track, and immediately in their mind, they're just like, wow, like I never thought about that. Like Cherish and Mary really know me, right? You've created the gap and now you're filling the gap, right? So you're framing the conversation. You're going through their functional flow. You're asking them personalized questions, right? So you're going to go in and ask them as many questions as you could humanly think of based on what they know. Like, where's your work location? What's the ideal commute time? Is there anything you'd like to be in walking distance? Like on a weekend, typically, what do you do? Like, what's convenient for you? What's inconvenient for you? What do you love most about where you live? Or what's one thing you're looking to get where you live, right? Then you get into a home. Like when you think about a home, what are the most important areas in a home? Oh, the backyard. Great. Like based in the backyard, what kind of experience are you looking to have? Is it different on holidays, weekends? What's the dream? What's the vision? And by the end of it, right? Remember, trust is a feeling. How many people have met somebody, whether it's at a networking event, somewhere out at a restaurant, a store, or on a date, where somebody's so genuinely interested in you? They've not said anything about what they do or who they are, but you're interested in them. Raise your hand if that's ever happened. You know, that's where the saying comes well, right? You've listened so well, you solved all my problems. Bless you, Leslie. Bless you. So this provides a recap, right? You can get really good at listening. You can have your plot note going, right? You recap, and then you go through those closing questions. Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you think that an MLS could find this kind of, and you repeat what it back, right? Just go back. We'll put a link to our buyer consultation with Kate, and I encourage you to go there and look at that. Look at the collections part, like in the first 10 to 15 minutes. Now, look, you set yourself up for the successful consultation for the end. There is no Shrug is the enemy combatant. He's just trying to sell me and everything. No, it's a hyper personalized service, right? So you've created a gap, you have your collections ready, and then at the end, when you're closing them, you can share with them, look, all of those lifestyle features, Mary, that you shared are now the filter that we look at every property. There are ones that you won't see that we never want you even waste your time to. There are ones that are perfect if you see some of these comments, and there are other ones that have some of the things that may not have some of the things, and we highlight those as well. Now, let me ask you all a question before we proceed. Is this something that's very difficult to do? Yes or no? Anyone feel it's difficult? For those who said it was difficult, Nadine, what would make this difficult for you?
Hi, Chirag. Sorry, I'm driving, so I have no camera on. I just think talking to people and getting your point across sometimes is very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just feel like it takes extra effort from me.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so here's the point. If I go back to her words, I'm going to mute you. Don't worry. Drive. When you hear getting my point across, you're not getting any point across. There's no point you need to get across, right? Because it's not about you, it's about them. Of course, when I'm trying to sell somebody and just share all the great things I do and making them see value in me, like that's really difficult. But if I'm asking guided questions, right? Think about our definition of sales. Having effective conversations, helping other people get what they want. You literally print these out on a piece of paper. That's it. So there should not be anything challenging. The only challenging part should be that this is new. I've never done it before. So the next buyer consultation, you're going to literally say this. I wrote down some really important questions so I could solely focus on the things that are most important to you. That's all you have to say to people. I'm like, okay, great. Please ask me the questions. Stacy?
Yeah, I just when I had my one buyer consultation following the questions, I did a Zoom call because they couldn't meet with me. They were on the other side of town, and I just said, I love checklists. It's kind of my background in financial. So I have a checklist of questions if you don't mind us going through. So it kind of helped with them seeing me kind of read a few things. And then I feel like the more that I do that, hopefully I will memorize it. I think that's the hardest thing is memorizing it, but I'll get there.
Well, look, here's the other part, right? Write these words down so that you can, right? So it's like I have a financial background and I have a checklist and I want us to go through it so that you can have the most personalized experience possible, right? You have to tie the benefit on to the end of it, right? So think about this feature, right? Is like I have a checklist. The benefit is it's organized and detailed. The destination they want to go through is a personalized buying experience, right? So when you go through the buyer questionnaire, we're going to give you this questionnaire. It is an elaborate questionnaire. It has lots and it has pages full of questions, right? So it's what I call the expert's positioning model, right? You position yourself as an expert by how detailed and how thorough you are, right? You have the ability to use AI. Once you go through and somebody fills out all these things, I'd be taking all these things and say, my client's looking for a home in this neighborhood between this price and this point. Here's what they want. What homes on the market would be great for them and why? You'd be shocked what you're going to get out of ChatGPT. Like this is getting really, really, really good. There are other ones that do this at different level. And look, you just have to remember one thing. AI is never going to replace you, right? My cousin is a full-blown AI programmer. He worked on Ori's team. at Google in 2011 for AI in his world's called machine learning. He built a $1 billion algorithm, and he's trying to convince me to like work with him for all of us to make an AI agent that can do your property search and comments for you. So like people are thinking about this now, right? You know the saying, no one will remember what you said, no one will remember what you did, but people will always remember how you made them feel. And this is showing somebody you care, and you set yourself apart from other agents, right? It's really important. The more that you know about these people, the better their experience is. And on the flip side of the coin, the less these people want to tell you about themselves and the goals, the worse clients that they are. You don't want to work with them. Why would you want to work with somebody logically that doesn't want to tell you about their life, their home, and this? They're not buying a commercial property or investment property, which is just basically a spreadsheet of numbers. We have to set our standards high. Now, I'm leaving plenty of time for questions, right? We're going to review the Med-C and the magic question script. This is just the first part. The second one is find a collection you can use on all of your consultations, right? And if you don't have one, build one for yourself and filter out properties, delete them. But remember, your collection, and while you're doing that needs analysis and showing them the exact experience you're going to get, should make them want to hire you, because it shows the value of what you can do for them that a website can't. Practice this conversation, right? Find other people in this group and role play and practice. You have to practice. For every hour I believe you practice, I believe you'll get $10,000 out of it in a year at some point. You will never be confident at something you don't practice. Kobe Bryant says you'll never be good at something you don't practice. So here's the thing, and I always wonder this myself. I have to practice, right? Because I have to show up and be able to have these conversations with you. You have to practice because you have to show up and have these conversations with your clients. You have the same conversations every single time, right? So if you're working on the buyer thing this quarter, you should become obsessed with practicing 5 days a week. Because eventually you're going to get it, and then you actually use it with clients every day. You could then cut your practice down to 1 to 2 times a week just for the hardest objections that you're dealing with for a quarter. That's the difference between strategy, having a plan, and just reacting to what's going on. Real estate is not a job. It is a multi-decade long career based on statistics, right? If you make it past like those first 5 years and whatever the number is, I think 87% of people fail. Once you get past that, you talk to realtors, I've been doing this 10, 20, 30 years, right? Great. Then why don't you learn the answers to the test within your first 2 years? Practicing is not fun. It's not exciting. Doesn't set off the dopamine in your brain like social media does, right? Doesn't. But it does make a difference in the experience you create for yourself and others. So we have the buyer questionnaire attached. Now, who has questions?
I do.
Shoot.
Sorry, so or we have an echo in here. What is the usage scenario for the buyer questionnaire? Why do you, if you put it in a Google form, that implies to me that you're sending it out and expecting it to be answered and come back to you? Is that what you're saying?
So I'm 1 step ahead of you. I just put this on my other screen. Give me a second. The questionnaire will be attached. All right, that screen froze, but let's see if this still works. No. Hold on. Can you all see the questionnaire here?
Yes.
So how you choose to use this is up to you, right? Some people will go through the questionnaire with people in person and use their Claude note and say, hey, don't worry, everything here is captured through our AI voice our AI recording device so that we can just focus on really listening to listen, go through these questions. We'll organize everything for you based on the sections, your future plans, and your lifestyle. And we'll send that back to you in the recap notes, and this will serve as a filter, right? Other people get them to sign the agreement and say, you know, part of their next steps is we'll have another meeting to do a really in-depth analysis, right? So look, you could have a second meeting that goes through the entire buyer questionnaire as well as the financial section of this. Some people can do it on the Zoom call. Some people like to fill it out on their own. Like, I think the really important part to this is being versatile in how you use it, and it's your ability to read the other party. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So Bill, for you, I would take this, because you have a team, I would take this needs analysis section and I would just role play. 2 people role play, the rest of the people give feedback, make yourself a little scorecard, grade each other. It'll be the best thing that you could do.
Great.
Anybody else? This is where I start getting a little worried, just a little bit. Jeanette.
Oh, Shrock, how do you respond to someone? We just went to a consult, buyer's consult, but how do you respond to someone who says, well, we're interviewing, 3 or 4 other agents to help us purchase a home? How do you respond to that without sounding defensive or trying to reiterate your qualities or whatever?
I would be happy if they were doing that. I'd be like, that's absolutely amazing. And I think in making the right financial decision, you want to take the time to find somebody that both understands you. So for all of us, what I would do is, hey, we know that a lot of clients interview multiple different people, right? So here's 4 things that you want to know about them, right? Like you would say, like, do they have access to off-market properties, right? How well do they understand your lifestyle inside and outside of a home? Do they have a written communication plan? How do they recap showings? Do they organize all your entire transaction into one place, right? So you want to get an understanding of these 5 questions so you can get as much of an idea of how you work with somebody and what that experience is like before you make the investment. Happy to share those questions with you. Ask me the same questions and any others, and literally set everyone up for failure.
Oh, good, thanks. No, because that's happening more and more now, it seems like.
Of course it is. And you should be happy because if you're here, you prepare, you have better materials, you have better conversations. This entire process is focused on the client, right? We're not saying really anything.
Mhm. That's true, but a lot of them just want that bottom line. What's the percentage you're going to charge?
And so then I would ask somebody this question. What specifically is most important to you about an agent you partner with for the purchase of your home?
Mhm.
Right? And then they're going to say,
Yep.
well, whoever charges the cheapest rate. So you could say to them, I completely hear that you want to find the cheapest rate or the best value for yourself. So outside of what somebody charges, is anything even important to you, or do you view an agent as a commodity?
Yeah, that's great. Oh, thank you.
It's like playing chess. They're looking for a reaction. And the more defensive we are, the more
Yeah, I don't.
combative we are, like they're just going to eat you alive. So everyone hop over to Cherish's role play session and we will continue on and practice, right? The only reason this comes naturally to me is because this is what I've been doing every single day for so many years.
Mhm.
Just remember, every time somebody says something to you, many of us have kids, right? How many people here have kids out of the 12 people that have a camera? All right, cool. When people are provoking your kids, do you tell them to engage with the instigator or just don't acknowledge what they say? Or it's like dealing with a bully. The more you go give into them, the more they're gonna, you don't. Like if somebody's like, you can't do that, you can't do that. You don't teach your kids by go back to them and saying, yes, you can. Like I can do this. Like, no, that's literally they're poking you.
Mhm.
And I completely respect that. So if that's what you're looking for, We offer a curated luxury experience, or we say we offer a collaborative experience. And the type of clients that we partner with have a high emphasis on value, both in shared experiences, our detailed approach to understanding people's functional flow, needs analysis, our financial portion, negotiations,
Mhm.
access to technology, as well as off-market properties. And if none of those things are the things that you value in an agent, I'm not the right agent for you, and that's 100% okay. And as soon as the most powerful person in negotiations is the person willing to walk away. So Cherish is a ninja when it comes to this stuff. So go over, role play, practice, and practice more. And I promise you, the more you practice, the easier it gets. Love in my heart. I love you all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye, everybody.